met her in the fall. He took her to a movie, and when they done it all, he took her.
Hello and welcome to the Fabulous Picture Show. I'm Amanda Palmer, and this week we've got a woman who won the Golden Bear at the Berlin Film Festival. Jasmila Zabanic, and she'll be here to screen her gripping new film, On the Path.
But so did I.
It's about how a carefree Bosnian woman reacts when her boyfriend rediscovers his faith.
Gdje u svijetu muslimani ne slave Bajram uz Ratiš, samo u Bosni. To je veliki grijeh.
And Jasmila's film provokes a challenging Q&A.
If they are Muslims, then alcohol does not play any part within the religion.
Yeah, for Bosnian Muslims, you know, this is how my family celebrated.
Also on the show, how director Danny Boyle put James Franco through method acting boot camp.
He was allowed to go to the toilet. That was the only thing.
But first, the often shocking documentaries of Frederick Wiseman have been exposing American institutions since the 1960s, and now he himself has become an institution.
Morning, Jim.
Great best of mornings.
Huh? What? What'd you say?
I stood on my clan!
It all began with Titicut Follies, a raw landmark expose of a hospital for the criminally insane.
Was any actual sexual relation between you and the... Yes. How old was the child?
Only 11.
11 years old.
The film was banned for 25 years officially for violating patients' privacy.
For I am called Christ,
But many believe it was banned for the ghastly conditions it exposed.
What I think I try to do in my movies is explore the complexity of a subject and its ambiguity, because if I go beyond that, I get caught in the usual Hollywood trap of watering down the material for the lowest common denominator, and that is of no interest to me at all.
Along with the Maysles brothers and D.A. Pennebaker, Wiseman became an icon of a naturalistic movement known as cinema verite, or truthful cinema.
Often you can shoot a sequence and nobody will ask you what you're doing or look in the camera, but it's very rare that anybody ever objects.
Hey, yo, turn around, pal.
Sir.
Don't sir me. Don't feed me that sir business. You punched this guy in the mouth. On what basis?
Sorry, he started mouthing off and then he started laughing. So.
Yeah, well, that doesn't give you a right to hit him.
Most of us like the idea that somebody's sufficiently interested in us to have let him take our picture.
Typically, he'll shoot over 100 hours of film per feature.
And tell him give me back of them noodles right there. No, right there. Down. One more, right there.
Sure, you sometimes get bored, but I mean, I know from experience the only way to make the movie is to sit in the chair. I think any film is made or broken in the editing.
35, 29.
It's interesting to slog away, and then one day, you know, you begin to see the form begin to emerge underneath the mound of rushes. That always pushes me, stimulates me to work even more, because I want to find out what the film's going to look like and what it's going to say. There's a different challenge in every film. First of all, there's the fun of the shooting, because it's an adventure. I'm learning about a world that I knew relatively little about beforehand.
And that world is almost always an institution.
Passez. En genou.
Well, an institution is a way, I mean, it's just a gimmick, really. It's just a way of having a look at the way people live and relate to each other in a well-defined situation that operates according to certain rules and has a limited geographical boundary.
His latest, Boxing Gym, is an intimate portrait of Lord's Gym in Austin, Texas.
Man, that's how you go right hand from there, yeah.
The subject of human violence is a subject that cuts across a lot of my movies, and boxing is a form of ritualized violence, and it's also a form of dance.
Yeah. You do a salsa or do you
do like cumbia.
The only audience I keep in mind when I make a film is myself. And I don't mean that to sound vain, but the only assumption I make about the audience is they're as smart or as dumb as I am.
All right, back to work.
Right.
With two great films coming out soon, actor James Franco isn't just hot, he's supernova hot.
Howl for Carl Solomon.
It was the most famous poem of the Beat generation.
I saw the best minds of my generation destroyed by madness.
The writers and free spirits who defined cool in post-war America.
Angel-headed hipsters burning for the ancient heavenly connection to the starry dynamo in the machinery of night.
But Allen Ginsberg's Howl was also the subject of a court case.
Did you form an opinion as to whether or not the book has any literary merit?
When he was charged with obscenity.
I think it has no literary merit.
More than 50 years later, award-winning documentary makers Rob Epstein and Jeffrey Friedman have made a partially animated docudrama about the poem.
Who poverty and tatters and hollow-eyed and high.
The trial.
Do you think Mr. Ginsberg's work will survive the test of time?
He has no way of knowing. No more than some people thought leaves of grass would survive.
And Ginsberg, portrayed by red-hot American actor James Franco.
There's no Beat generation. Just a bunch of guys trying to get published.
Here's a movie that is trying to capture exactly who he was. I'm, working with filmmakers that come from the documentary world. All the dialogue in the script is based on transcripts that Ginsberg actually gave.
I started writing poetry because I was a dope, and my father wrote poetry, so I began writing rhymes like him.
It is a hybrid. It probably defies category more than falls in the within any traditional genre. But that was something that we were really excited about.
Who chained themselves to subways for the endless ride from Battery to Holy Bronx on Benzedrine, until the noise of wheels and children brought them down, shuddering, mouth-racked.
We were very interested in capturing the kind of youthful, rebellious exuberance that is embodied in the poem that was written by a 29-year-old poet who felt like an outcast.
Who howled on their knees in the subway and were dragged off the roof, waving genitals and manuscripts. One of the readings of the poem is a young poet coming into his own voice. And, Howl, just the subject of Howl, really captures Ginsberg's, artistic development up to that point.
You understand what angel-headed hipsters burning for the ancient heavenly connection to the starry dynamo in the machinery of night means?
Sir, you can't translate poetry into prose. That's why it is poetry.
Another film to see if you're a Francophile. That is a James Francophile.
Hey! You're lost? I'm a guide. What do you say?
127 Hours, directed by Danny Boyle, one of Britain's most exciting filmmakers.
All you have to remember is that everything will be okay.
Oh my God! A master of bigger-than-life storytelling, he's gone this time for the true story of Aaron Lee Ralston, an adventurer who got stuck in a remote canyon with his arm trapped under a rock.
When you embrace the reductive nature of the story, it's truly cinematic, because I think people forget that cinema, one of the wonders of cinema is that it magnifies things. It amplifies things. That's part of its dynamic, really. You can go in on something and it makes it big like that.
James Franco brought his immersive method approach to the role to a point.
He wasn't allowed to use his arm. He had to do everything himself. Prop boys weren't allowed to help him. But he was allowed to go to the toilet. That was the only thing.
This marks 24 hours of being stuck.
The film's notorious amputation scene has had a potent effect on some viewers.
I've been there. It happens, and it's in a number of cases. It is something that's not through revulsion. It's through empathy. I think James's performance is so extraordinary that people just get tipped over the edge by it at times, and it's like an extreme empathetic reaction, I guess.
I have about 150 milliliters of water left, which should keep me alive till tomorrow night, if I'm lucky. So that's it.
In part 2 of Screening On the Path, I have the writer and director Yasmila here. Now, this is a film about a couple where love goes awry.
Yeah, it's a love story which takes place in Sarajevo today, about the changes of people and society. To love somebody who is changing, it's really challenging because there are a lot of questions. Do you change as well together with him, or you can't accept this change?
I mean, a lot of the change comes about with somebody finding religion, but we'll tell you more about that in part 2.
He met her in the fall.
Hello everybody, welcome to this special screening of On the Path. Please can you welcome Yasmila Jbanic.
Hello.
Now I met you 4 years ago. You were celebrating the Golden Bear at Berlin Film Festival, and you're back with your second feature film. You wrote, produced, directed. Tell us about why this film is important for you.
Film is very personal, not that something like this happened to me, but it was something which is happening in my country, and I just wanted to deal with these issues, which I find very true for Bosnia, but hoping it's more universal than that.
Young, employed and in love, Luna and Ama worry only about starting a family.
Nalazom Miloš imate vrlo malo dobrih pokretnih spermija. S ovakvim nalazom, da tako kažem, teže da partnerica zatrudne.
But their version of Bosnia's post-war good life ends when a chance encounter with an old friend offers troubled Ama an alternative path.
Luna, ovo je Bakrija.
Luna, drago mi je.
Halali. Ne rukujem se sa ženama.
When Ama gets a job at a Salafi community, Luna follows.
Gdje Amar? Vidjet ćeš ga večeras.
Zato, draga braćo iz...
While Bosnia is a majority Muslim country, the strict rules of the Salafis are alien to some people whose Islam came by way of the Ottomans and has been tempered by centuries of coexistence with other faiths. So the Salafi communities are highly controversial.
Ne možeš dalje. Tu te mogu braća vidjeti.
And often unjustly branded as terrorists. Instead, On the Path attempts to explain the appeal of a secure community.
5 godina poslije rata. Nemam posla, nemam para, nemam ništa. Razvaljen. Mogu da se sastavim. Kontam da završim sa svim.
Yasmila Jbanic's first film also dealt with Bosnia's wartime legacy. Grbavica won the Berlin Film Festival's Golden Bear for its intimate look at the war's traumatic aftermath. And with On the Path's Luna and Ama, Jbanic again successfully personalizes the politics.
Muzika je grijeh. Alkohol je grijeh. Ženski glas je grijeh. Glasno smijanje je isto grijeh, jel de?
You went on your own journey to talk to women in your community who had become more devout, and you have found yourself that you found out so much about this community that surprised you in very positive ways.
Women who were covered in Bosnia, I always thought they were somebody who was forced by husbands or fathers or whatever to be under burqas. But when we did research, we met women who were highly educated, who were actually fighting with their husbands and fathers to have burqa. And Mirjana Karanović, who plays Nađa in the film, she said now she knows how to play this woman because she feels free under this.
Ne boj se, sestra. Nismo mi onakvi kako pričaju.
What was your motive in the way you wanted to display Muslims in your film?
It was important to understand that that Muslims are not one bunch with one voice, but it's a many different thoughts on life, different behaviors. You notice that grandmother of Luna, she is Muslim, but she's different than Amar as a Muslim. Grandmother doesn't have to prove anything. She's inside of her heart, religious person who respects it. And Amar is, how Bosnians call it, a new Muslim. So he has to prove himself in front of others.
Gdje u svijetu muslimani ne slave Bajram uz Rakiju, samo u Bosni. To je veliki grijeh. Mislimo da smo muslimani zaboravili sve običaje naše prave vjere.
You openly put Muslims 50-50 as drinking, smoking, discos, and you portray the grandmother as always having Eid with some form of alcohol. But if they are Muslims per se, then alcohol does not play any part within the religion.
Yeah, for Bosnian Muslims, this is how my family celebrated Eid. This is something which is again, culturally different.
Sorry to speak over you, but it's the culture of Bosnia, not the religion.
I think what I'm hearing, and Jasmila's had to talk about this a lot, as she said that they're intertwined in this sense. They are Bosnian Muslims, and both religion and culture has seen them interpret this religion in different ways.
Ne pametuj ti meni kako da slavim Bajram, jesam li dobra muslimanka ili nisam.
Do you feel that the way you have portrayed Muslims, that you're adding to the stereotype of Muslims? For example, when the second wife was hesitating before she said, I agree.
Prihvatam.
And also the fact that the way that the marriage was justified was that it was for money to pay for her schooling, and it was emphasized on the fact that she was underage.
What I experienced in the research was that there were men who were marrying underage wives, second or third even. I'm not much interested in that. This scene is only for the sake of exploring Luna's feelings about Amar.
Nisi razumjela. Ako je to njoj u redu, ako je to njemu u redu, ako je nađi u redu, a nije grijeh.
For her, she could take a lot of his change.
Božji zakoni su jači.
Pa si ti normalan? Dvije žene, pa ona je maloljetna.
If there is a law that says Amar could have more women, or, she should do this or that in order to have sex, for her it's not acceptable.
Poslanik jedno...
Kad mi nismo vodili ljubav.
Ali ovdje baš poslanik kaže je preporučuje na spolne se prije braka.
I was just wondering, has the film been shown widely in Bosnia, and what was the response?
Yeah, we show it everywhere in Bosnia, except Republika Srpska, who show it just in one cinema, which is half of Bosnia. But there was a really interesting conversation and reactions to the film. It was always appreciated for not taking sides, but there was some criticism from liberal side that we were too nice to those people.
Quran is our book.
Quran is our book.
And you're a Bosnian. What was your reaction to this film?
For me, it was interesting in that sense to see somebody from the same culture raising this question, because me, as a non-Muslim, was afraid to ask these questions.
Sjećaš se komšije s 9. Kako mi je gledao u noge kad mi je dao one ikar, konzerve. A ja trčala u stepenište u mini suknjici da mi sutra donese još jedan.
I thought it was interesting that you, as somebody who is working with actors who have often experienced hardship and certainly understand the trauma of war, that you insist that they do a clown workshop so she can get to their raw emotion as such. And I had these great visions of her in a clown outfit. I'm hoping that Jasmina is going to provide me a photograph of this.
Scena 33.
They are making fun of themselves, of their most hidden and vulnerable things. they are most opened actors because they are reacting immediately. Or somebody coughing, you know, they would immediately do something with reality around them, which was very important for actors for this film. They had to be open for totally new experiences. They had to go to, like Leon, to respect and to learn how to pray and, you know, spend months and months with different people.
Hvala što si me ovdje doveo.
Drago mi je da ti se sviđa.
So tell us about a scene where you might have struggled.
We wanted to shoot in this particular mosque, which was considered Salafi Wahhabi mosque. This mosque is huge, and it doesn't have any ornaments like Bosnian mosques do. So for me, it was a great picture of this new wave of religion. Not a single media crew was allowed to enter, and I was really persistent that nothing can be forbidden in Sarajevo for me. I mean, I just can't take it. So I went and explained that if they want picture of them changing, they have to open up to people. And the first thing is that they have to trust. I will not portray them as terrorists or whatever. And I'm really, really proud that they did it.
Allahu Akbar.
What do you hope this film is going to achieve?
I was making this film first of all for my country, where I really think people will look differently on each other. There is one wonderful sentence by Serbian architect Bogdan Bogdanovic who says, once in your life you have to change religion, you know, to understand other perspective.
Should we thank please here Jasmila for joining us on The Path. Thank you very much.
Ti odjednom postao ekspert za pitanja vjere. Do juče si neni pijan po kući povraćao.
Nećemo dalje!
Pa nećemo!
Well, that was intense. You like an intense movie, Jasmila?
An intense audience I like.
Yes, well, she certainly got that in bucket loads. And next time she tells me that she's writing a comedy. Possible?
I'm trying to write comedy, so I'm enjoying it now, but I hope it will be comedy in the end.
With jokes and everything?
Yeah.
Intense comedy. When Jasmila joins us, what, in 2 years maybe?
Hopefully.
2 years' time.
On a scale of 1 to 10, how would you rate this film?
I give the film 7.
It's a look at European Muslims that I've never had an opportunity to see before. It was very unbiased. It never leaned one way or the other.
When the film ends, the story carries on, and I really like films like that.